Hello students, welcome back. So this is the last part of complex numbers in which we shall discuss 5 IIT JEE questions based on this topic. These questions will help you to know what kind of questions can you expect in your exams. Moreover, you'll also get to know that a single question involves application of multiple concepts and therefore it is important to understand the application of concepts in the questions. Moreover, we shall also learn how to apply new tricks in order to save your time in solving questions. So let's begin.
So now we'll be discussing some of the important questions from the topic of complex numbers. These questions will give you an idea of what kind of questions can you expect. These are the questions of previous year's IIT JEE question, right? So the first question that we have is, let a complex number alpha where alpha is not equal to 1 be a root of the equation z raised to the power p plus q minus z raised to the power p minus z raised to the power q plus 1 equal to 0, where p and q are distinct primes. Show that either 1 plus alpha square so on alpha raised to the power p minus 1 is 0, or 1 plus alpha square plus so on alpha to the power q minus 1 is equal to 0, but not both together. Okay, so just try to utilize the given information. My given equation is z raised to the power p plus q minus z raised to the power p minus z raised to the power q plus 1 equal to 0. Next, it's given that alpha is a root of the equation. Alpha is a root of the equation, which implies alpha will satisfy this equation. Alpha will satisfy it, and therefore we'll have alpha to the power p plus q minus alpha to the power p minus alpha to the power q plus 1 is 0, which implies if I take alpha to the power p common, I'll get it as this, minus again I can make it as alpha to the power q. So I have minus 1 alpha to the power q minus 1 is equal to 0. So now this gives me, now it's also given that alpha is not equal to 1. What I can do is I can write either this, once you get this alpha to the power p minus 1 into alpha to the power q minus 1 is 0, we have either alpha to the power p minus 1 is 0 or alpha to the power q minus 1 is 0. Now moreover it's also given that alpha is not equal to 1. So I can write either alpha to the power p minus 1 by alpha minus 1 is 0 or alpha to the power q minus 1 by alpha minus 1 is equal to 0. We can divide it by alpha minus 1 only because it is given that alpha is not equal to 1. Now we have got that either alpha to the power p minus 1 upon alpha minus 1 is 0 or alpha to the power q minus 1 or upon alpha minus 1 is equal to 0. So this implies this can be written as 1 plus alpha square so on alpha to the power p minus 1 is 0 or 1 plus alpha square so on alpha to the power q minus 1 is 0. But alpha to the power p minus 1 is equal to 0 and alpha to the power q minus 1 equal to 0 cannot occur simultaneously. Why? Cannot occur simultaneously. Why is it that these two cannot occur simultaneously? Because it's given that p and q are distinct primes. Because p and q are distinct primes, and so neither p divides q nor q divides p. It's given that p and q are distinct primes, that means neither p will divide q nor q divides p, which is the requirement for when 1 equal to alpha to the power p equal to alpha to the power q, which you can write it here, which is the requirement for 1 to be equal to alpha to the power p to be equal to alpha to the power q. So I have just utilized the given condition that the given equation is this and alpha is a root of that equation. So from that itself we have derived the required condition. The second question says if iota z cube plus z square minus z plus I is 0, then show that mod z is equal to 1. So again, the given condition, the given equation is this, and from that itself what I do is, in order to take out some terms common, z square can be written as minus iota square z square. We know iota square is minus 1, so I can write it as minus iota square z square. Minus z plus I is 0. Iota, I take it as common, or in fact you can take iota z square as common. So I have z minus iota minus 1, I have z minus iota. So I finally get iota z square minus 1 into z minus iota to be equal to 0. This gives me either z minus iota is 0 or iota z square is 1. That means z is iota or z square is 1 by iota, which means z square is minus iota. Why? 1 can be written as minus iota square, so it becomes minus iota. Now we have got z is iota or z square is minus iota. If z is iota, then mod z would be mod of iota, which would be equal to 1 obviously, and if z square is minus iota, then mod of z square would be equal to mod of minus iota, which would be equal to 1, which implies mod of z square is 1. So mod z is equal to 1. So this question was also simple. I have just tried to use the properties of iota, integral parts of iota, and rearrange the terms in order to factorize them, and then we have reached the conclusion. Okay, so the next question that we have is, if x is a plus b, y is a alpha plus b beta, and z is a beta plus b alpha, where alpha and beta are given to be the cube roots of unity, show that x, y, z is a cube plus b cube. First of all, we are given that alpha and beta are the cube roots of unity, so I assume alpha to be omega and beta to be omega square. Then we are required to prove that xyz is a cube plus b cube. So I just begin with the value of xyz. X is a plus b, y is a alpha plus b beta, and z is a beta plus b alpha. So just multiply it and I get a square alpha beta plus ab alpha plus ab beta square plus b square alpha beta. So we get a plus b into a square alpha beta plus ab, this should be alpha square, then plus ab beta square plus b square alpha beta. So this becomes, now alpha is omega and beta is omega square, plus ab as it is, alpha square is omega square, plus beta square is omega square, so beta square, beta is omega square, so beta square becomes omega 4, plus b square, alpha beta is again omega cube. Now we know 1 plus omega square is 0 and omega cube is 1. So we will be utilizing those properties. So I have a square, omega cube is 1 plus ab. Now this becomes omega square plus omega plus b square. Omega cube is 1 and therefore omega 4 will become omega, because you can see it here, omega 4 can be written as omega cube into omega and 1 into omega, so it becomes omega. So this is equal to a plus b into a square minus ab plus b square. This is what we get. So xyz is equal to ultimately a cube plus b cube. If you remember the formula for a cube plus b cube, that's a plus b into a square minus ab plus b square. So we get xyz as a cube plus b cube. Now the next question that we have is, if the complex numbers z1, z2, z3 represent the vertices of an equilateral triangle such that modulus of z1 is equal to modulus of z2 is equal to modulus of z3, then z1 plus z2 plus z3 is equal to 0. Okay, so since we are just given that z1, z2, z3 are the vertices of equilateral triangle and mod z1 is mod z2 is mod z3. This is the given information. This implies that z1, z2, z3 lie on a circle with center at origin. Right? Since we are given that they are vertices of an equilateral triangle and the moduli are equal, therefore we get that z1, z2, z3 lie on a circle with center at origin. And therefore, on the basis of this, what we can say is that the circumcenter would be equal to the centroid. Right? So, what we have is circumcenter is equal to centroid, and therefore, if you remember the formula for centroid, we have 0 would be equal to z1 plus z2 plus z3 by 3, and therefore we get z1 plus z2 plus z3 is equal to 0. So see, this question was also quite simple. You just need to understand the logic behind it, and you should be well versed with the various formulae in case of complex numbers. So the next question that we have is that z equal to x plus iy be a complex number where x and y are integers. Then the area of the rectangle whose vertices are the roots of the equation z bar cube plus z bar z cube equal to 350 is, okay. So first of all, what I do is I take the given equation z bar cube plus z bar z cube is equal to 350. This is what is given, and z obviously we assume it to be x plus iy, and I take z bar common, so I get z bar square plus z square is 350. Now z is x plus iy, z bar becomes x minus iy. Now this is x minus iy square plus x plus iy square is equal to 350. This becomes x square plus y square because iota square is minus 1, and this gives me x square plus iota square y square minus 2xyi plus x square plus iota square y square plus 2xyi is equal to 350, and x square plus y square into x square minus y square minus 2xyi plus x square minus y square plus 2xyi is equal to 350. 2xyi gets cancelled, and therefore this gives me x square plus y square into twice of x square minus y square is 350. So we have x square plus y square into twice of x square minus y square is 350. So this gives me x square plus y square into x square minus y square is equal to 175. Further, it's given that x and y are integers. So x and y belong to I. So the only possible case where or which gives integral solution, the only possible case which gives integral solution is when x square plus y square we get as 25 and x square minus y square we get as 7, right? So since x and y belong to I, so we need an integral solution, and the only possible case which will give an integral solution is when x square plus y square is 25 and x square minus y square is 7. You can check out 25 into 7, this product becomes 175. So now you just need to solve out these two equations. You can add and we get 2x square is 32, so x square is 16, which means x is plus minus 4. And similarly, if you subtract, you can get y square as 9, and so y becomes plus minus 3. Therefore, area of rectangle, that is a required thing that we are required to find. So area of rectangle will therefore become 8 into 6, which is 48. So the area of rectangle is 48. Now these questions are simple, but you'll have to practice a very good number of questions on this topic, that is complex numbers, because this is somewhat a complicated topic and you'll be able to master it only with the help of practice. So do practice a very good number of questions. If you have got any kind of queries on the topic, you can post it for free on our discussion board of askiitians.com. For doing so, just go to the website askiitians.com, go to the discussion board, and as soon as you select the option of discussion board, on the right hand side you will see the column Ask Experts. In that you can select the category of the question, for example say algebra, and just post your question. You can also attach any kind of image with the question. Then just click on Get Answer and the Ask IITians experts will give you the answer within the duration of 24 to 48 hours.
So I hope you must have understood the techniques of solving questions on complex numbers, as well as the application of multiple concepts in solving a single question. So this also completes our chapter Complex Numbers, but before we stop, let's have a quick summary of the entire chapter. So first of all, we began with the definition of a complex number, in which we also studied the representation of complex numbers as well as the concept of integral powers of iota. Then we moved to the algebra of complex numbers, that is addition, subtraction, multiplication and division of complex numbers. Then we switched to the geometry of complex numbers, which was a quite vast topic. We also studied the concept of de Moivre's theorem, cube roots of unity and nth roots of unity. So for more lectures on physics, chemistry, mathematics and biology, stay tuned with askiitians.com.